Hey everyone, it is Reverend Dr. Katie again. I am really happy to see you. I am again using my computer because my phone is not really liking to do the Facebook Lives for some reason, but hopefully this will come through clearly. The one I did yesterday didn't seem to have any audio problems. And actually just today I received the booster to boost the internet signal to all parts of my house and I couldn't get it set up, couldn't get it to work. So never fear, it's in the works. I just couldn't quite spend hours on it today, but we'll get that worked out soon. So there will be no more hiccups. So I hope you're all doing super well. And we are here today to talk about SLBs. And so I'm going to define that in just a minute. And I had asked the group earlier about what you want most in your spiritual life right now. You all had such great answers, and it was actually really moving to read some of them. And what I loved that almost everyone put was something along the lines of like clarity, and you want to be of service, and you want to be of service to the world, which is amazing. And most of you were really able to articulate like kind of precisely what it is that you're feeling called to do, but then you are also able to name like, I can't quite get there, even though I really, really want to. And so that's all really great because you're aware, right? You're aware. If you're not quite aware of what it is that's standing in your way, don't worry, we can work together and figure that out. And actually, I really love to help people do that. So let me preface this conversation with saying the energy is like crazy right now. It is sky high. I can't tell you how many mean comments I've gotten this week about like nothing, about like me asking people how they are, and then people just respond really meanly. And so I early on I was like, I'm not taking this personally because energy is crazy right now. So if that has happened to you, just be aware that people are not acting like themselves, but this is actually good news for examining what's standing in your way, because what I found is that when their energy is just all jittery, they actually are able to name and like find out what those blocks are really quick because they are right there on the surface. We spend most of the time pressing them down and not acknowledging them and trying to not even being aware that like there's a gigantic block in front of us that we need to shift out of the way, and we can just walk around it. We don't have to conquer whatever those blocks are. We can just allow them to dissolve, like they no longer exist for us, for attaining our goals, for our spiritual health, for development, for moving forward, for all of that. So let's talk a little more about this. And again, if energy has been like this for you, wow, you are not alone. And we are shifting from Cancer into Leo soon, so everyone can get their inner lion out and just get ready to roar away all of those problems. So when we name what we desire most in the world that we don't currently have, and we're not in the process of currently getting there, because there usually is a process, there's usually one thing holding us back. And so those are SLBs, or self-limiting beliefs. So I'm going to name some self-limiting beliefs that almost everyone has at some point in their lives, right? So one is not enough money, right? Almost everyone has that self-limiting belief. What always concerns me is that when people say something like, well, I don't believe I'll ever have enough. Like, I can't even imagine having enough. Well, that's a problem because we need to be able to imagine it before it can happen. And I know a lot of you as Christians, and I know that this is true, a lot of you as Christians feel bad even desiring to have enough resources. So I've got to ask you this. If someone in a country that was really struggling said that they wanted enough resources to be able to live and to live comfortably, would you tell them that that was selfish? Most likely you would not. Right? You would tell them, yes, I'm going to do everything I can to help you attain that, right? So you do have to be able to do that for yourself. I only work with people who want to have enough resources and money to be of service to the world, right? So that's my criteria, right? They're going to be of service to themselves and to everyone around them, and that they'll do that as a Christian in the world. So another self-limiting belief is I don't have enough time. I resonate so much with this one because I've spent a lot of nights in my life staying up until midnight or 1 a.m. But actually, we create time for ourselves. And we know that in the cosmic world, time is really an illusion. But one of the things that I really like to do is help people strategize to create time in their day. So often I hear people say, oh, I don't have enough time to meditate, or I don't have enough time to pray. And what they don't know is that doing those things creates more spaciousness in their day, because it allows us to enter into a different level of consciousness and figure out what is most important for our day that day. And we need to match up and make sure our time and our passions match up too. So those are two really concrete self-limiting beliefs that I hear a lot, and almost everyone will have those beliefs at some point in their lives, and then we can do things to shift away from those. But the other ones that are a little less tangible are things like, well, I don't have enough confidence, or I have a lot of trauma. And both of those things may be really true, and they're not bad reasons for having been stuck in our lives, but at some point they're in our past. And what we're called to do is remove them from our present, right? And so it's when that feels like it's in a stuck place that we need some additional tools to be able to dissolve those and be able to shift ourselves into the life that we want and that I believe God wants for us. And as a Christian, I believe that Jesus wants the fullest, most rich experience for us as possible. And when we have that rich experience, there are sacrifices that we are expected to make. And so I don't want to portray the idea that Christians are only supposed to have everything they want and never reach outside of their comfort zone. Reaching outside your comfort zone is one way that you stretch yourself and help dissolve those self-limiting beliefs that are in front of you. And so we really have to start with us. And so I want you to think back, for those of you who like grew up in churches and went on mission trips, the very first time you went on a mission trip, it was probably terrifying, right? Or the first time you served a meal at a soup kitchen, or the first time you received one. They're all equally terrifying. And it probably felt very uncomfortable. You're like, what am I going to say to people? Or what are people going to think about me? I don't know what to do. But then you just go and you do it. You hit a few bumps, you make a few mistakes, you move on, and then you find out that you can be of service and that people can be of service to you. So think back to a time when someone reached out to you when you were in tremendous pain or tremendous discomfort, and they didn't have to, but they reached out to you. I imagine that that person might have also felt uncomfortable with that, and they were sacrificing a little bit by creating time and space and energy for you. And that was something that was of service to you. And so by dissolving our self-limiting beliefs, we are actually of greater service to others and to the world. So I'm going to say that again. By dissolving our self-limiting beliefs that we don't have whatever it is that we need to get to where we want to be, we're actually denying our service and our gifts to the world, and we're limiting our Christian calling instead of expanding it to the fullest of its ability. Usually, this dissolution of these self-limiting beliefs, it doesn't go like all at once, right? We erode them, but we can do that really intentionally. And then eventually they're not there anymore, right? So one for me was, I'll never finish my dissertation. I said that so many times, and then everyone will ask, when you're writing a dissertation, everyone asks, how far have you gotten? How many pages have you written? Is it almost done? What is your advice? They ask you all these questions that are actually not helpful. And every time someone did that, it would sort of build up this belief that I couldn't do it. And when I made the conscious shift of, this is something I can do and I can do it in a reasonable amount of time, it started to flow a lot easier, right? So that's just a really concrete example from my own life. And it got done, it got published, right? So I could not have imagined way back in the day that would be the case, right? But that was just one self-limiting belief that I had, not even consciously about myself, that I was able to work through and dissolve. And I was able to do that with a lot of metaphysical tools, actually, that were at my disposal. And so that's why I'm such a fan, as metaphysical Christians, of using these tools that we're given to help address the problems that we're having. And sometimes they can address these problems and we're not even aware of it, which is actually really nice. All of a sudden, the self-limiting belief is gone because you've been consistent with your spiritual practice and with the way that you're approaching your life, right? So does that make sense? That's why these tools are so helpful. And that's why I try to teach them over a long period of time. So it doesn't take years or anything like that, but it's not something that I can teach in 2 minutes, right? It's something that takes a little bit of time, like prayer, right? When you don't go to church once a year and expect to be able to pray like an expert. You go for a long time, you practice this in your daily life at home. It's a skill that we cultivate. So all of these are skills that we cultivate, and they help us with those self-limiting beliefs. Okay, so one of the things I loved about your answers about what's standing in your way of what you want most right now, or what do you want most right now, and then a lot of you identified what was standing in your way when you were naming what it is you want the most right now. I didn't see anything there that like wasn't addressable. Every single thing that someone named is something that is able to be addressed, not conquered. We don't have to conquer, but dissolved, right? Like I didn't see anything there that I was like, ooh, no, that's going to be out of your league. It's all doable, right? And so that is the really, really good news. And as soon as we can do that, we can be of greater service. And another thing I loved in the answers is that everyone was so concerned with living out their Christian calling to the best of their ability so that they could serve others, so that they could be healed, so that they could then heal others. And that makes me just joyful, right? That makes me joyful because that's what I love to see people doing and Christians doing. And again, I only work with people who kind of have that resonance in mind. If people want to gain lots of skill sets so that they can go and be exploitative and destructive, you know, I'm not your person. When people want to gain skill sets so that they can go out and be healers to a greater capacity and affect more people than they do now, that's what I love to see, right? So that's part of my calling and why I do what I do in a variety of ways. I do it in our group here. I do this through my writing. I do this through my kind of pastoral ministry that none of you see because I do that one-on-one and it's all confidential. It's nothing I can talk about, right? But I do this in a variety of ways, and you do too. I know that you all do. That's why you're here. That's why you're watching this to begin with. And then I would love to see you be able to do that in a greater way. So we got to dissolve those blocks, get you to the other side so you can see clearly where it is that you're going, and then move forward and become the healers that you're meant to be. And everyone in here is a healer, and you're meant to be healers to an even greater extent. And I'll help you kind of, when you're ready, I will help you define what your ministry is, because we all have a ministry or several ministries that we're called to do, and we're called to do that in a variety of ways. This doesn't mean that you have to be like a professional healer. You can do this in your everyday 9-to-5 job. You can do this in your household. You can do this in your neighborhood at PTA meetings, when you're buying a car, right? This is a way we live our lives, not necessarily a profession that we have, although many of you are called to do this kind of work in a professional capacity as well. And so there's two ways that we can do this. But I do this work all day long, even when I'm not, on the clock or whatever. Right. And so it's also a way that we live. And then for some of us, that will extend to our professional, the way we get paid to move about in the world. Right. So all of your pastors get a paycheck, hopefully. Right. None of them are expected to do that kind of work for no compensation. Right. We all go to school for a really long time to be able to learn how to do this. And the same is true for you. You should also get compensated if you choose to do this professionally. If you're not doing this professionally, then you still have self-limiting beliefs that need to go away so that you can enter into your own calling and live that out in your day-to-day life, whatever that may be. All right. So that's about self-limiting beliefs. We're going to talk more about this because I see these crop up over and over and over again in lots of our conversations, just in my everyday life when people are talking to me. I've been there. I still have self-limiting beliefs. I still work through them. I use my metaphysical tools to help dissolve them. I got in a really aggressive communication today. I was like, ooh, kind of took me back. And I was like, well, is this person saying something that's true about me, or is that a self-limiting belief that I'm putting in front of myself that's actually not true? And now I'm pretty good at this, right? So I was like, oh, okay, no, that's actually not true about me. This is this person's perception, and it's actually their self-limiting belief that's making them kind of write something unkind to me. Totally unprecedented too. I don't know why. Doesn't matter. That's really their deal, not my deal, right? But that could have been a block that stayed in front of me for like weeks, months, years. And instead it was kind of minutes or like maybe an hour. And then I was like able to say, oh, gone, right? Not mine. That does not belong to me. That belongs to them, right? And I have enough self-reflective capacity to say, oh, maybe they hit a nerve because something's true there and I need to make a tweak in my life, which is exactly the same thing because you're still getting rid of the self-limiting belief, right? That's causing you to have that feeling about yourself. So if you do find yourself struggling with lots of negative emotions like guilt, like shame, like that, sort of that lack of clarity that's always in the back of your mind, and always, if you're always wondering, am I doing the right thing? Am I moving in the right direction in my life? Those are all the results of sort of self-limiting beliefs that we don't, the self-limiting beliefs are usually that we don't deserve something, when in fact we do. If you're a woman, I guarantee you've had this self-limiting belief at some point, because most women have issues around deserving, right? Because we always believe we're supposed to be of service, that we don't deserve to receive that kind of clarity in our own lives, but you do. I promise that you do. That's part of your Christian calling, is actually like deserving that clarity, again, so that you can be of service to yourself and to others. Okay, I am going to end this right now. I would love to see your comments, your questions, any insights that you had, any aha moments. If this is still really confusing to you, let me know that so that we can clear that up a little bit. You all know how to reach me if you need me. You can private message me. You can contact me here. You probably have my email. You can email me too, and I will see you soon.